A big hello to fellow teachers. Welcome to the Eduwell podcast, a show created for teachers, by teachers, with teachers. I'm Alex Bush.
And I'm Chelsea Henderson. With over 30 years of combined teaching experience, we're here to help you find balance in your professional and personal lives.
Join us as we dive into a well of information, exploring insights, strategies, and practical tips that you can apply both within and beyond your classroom.
So whether you're new to teaching or a seasoned expert, this podcast is for you. Let's be well
and do well
together.
Hey teachers, welcome back to Eduwell. I'm Alex.
And I'm Chelsea.
And Chelsea, I've had a week.
Have you?
Yeah. As you know, Chelsea, it is Friday. We are taping on a Friday. So for me, the week always gets progressively more intense. Today, for instance, I was at a really big event. There were a lot of people. There were a lot of hellos and smiles and hugs and back and forths. And that took away a lot of energy. I gave a lot of energy. I got a lot of energy. I did a lot of reading this week. And my brain was just, on all the time. I went for several walks, which I enjoyed very much. And I would suggest they kind of refreshed me more than they exhausted me. And being in that space with all those people was really loud. It was a cacophony of noise. And so in describing this week, I've had so many of these experiences, some of them happening all at once, some of them happening one at a time. I am at the point where I am feeling a high level of exhaustion.
So it sounds like you are feeling several types of tired.
I am. Do you want to name them for me?
I do, because today we're going to talk about 5 types of tired, and we are going to target those types of tired for teachers because often we don't realize what kind of tired we are.
Right, and you have to name it to change it. So let's dive into the well. What are the 5 different types of tired?
Today we're going to talk about mental fatigue, emotional fatigue, social fatigue, sensory fatigue, and physical fatigue.
Let's tread water in the well.
Let's get in there.
It's not a dive. It's like a tread right now.
Yeah, it's going to tire us out. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so let me say this. People who are in the work of helping other people experience the highest burnout rates. Okay, and I just read this in a book that's actually called Burnout. And so we have to keep this in mind that many of us are helping people all day long, and then we're going home to help some more people. So in this book, Emily and Amelia Nagoski talk about people who have what they refer to as human giver syndrome.
Oh my.
Where all you do is give to others. So we're going to talk about how we need to reel that in and make sure that there's time that we are just being human beings instead of being givers all the time.
Right. And in another episode, you stated we are in the business of people. And how do you, when you're in the business of people, young people, people's most precious people, then put yourself first? Then say, I have compassion fatigue. Then say, I don't want to give right now. And it is a real barrier to getting the rest that you need because it's hard to say no in these situations. And we are in a very go, go, go profession where the pressure is always on to change things up, try new things, learn a new curriculum, try a million different strategies. You are never done. There is a major pressure that exists to kind of keep on going all the time. And so rest is always put on the back burner, hence burnout.
Absolutely. So what are we going to do about that? Because clearly we have to do something about it. And it starts with becoming aware of these types of tired. We have to think about it. So once we become aware of the things that are causing the energy drain, we can work our way to the energy gain. And it's something that we have to really infuse into our lives.
Did you notice the rhyming that you just did? Was that like deliberate or?
Yeah, it's totally deliberate.
It was.
You're not going to forget that.
Wasn't
right?
deliberate. It wasn't alliteration, but it was like rhyming. Yeah. You must be a teacher.
All right. Love
All right.
poetry. All right. Let's begin with the most prominent type of tired for teachers, I would say, and that is mental fatigue. This type of tired can be harder to pinpoint, and we may not realize that we are exhausted in this area. It often shows up in the form of confusion or frustration, irritation, impatience, edginess. You might have trouble focusing, and sometimes these feelings can happen all at once. Isn't that fun?
Well, it's not fun. And I know for me personally, usually I start really strong on Monday because I've had some rest. And then by the end of the week, I start to make silly mistakes. There are so many things that are happening in the space all the time. I'm making decisions for not just myself, but everyone else, how they interact individually, how they interact. Well, hello, yet another thing that I have to get to. That's my alarm going off. Pause 1 second. Back to mental fatigue. So you're always on making these decisions. And so by the end of the week, I am making really silly mistakes because my brain is tired. I'm also always reading and learning and, talking to people about best practices. And, your brain can only handle so much information.
But seriously, I have to address that phone thing that just happened. That causes such mental fatigue as well. I have to check this. I'm getting this alert. It's unbelievable. Sometimes I'm just like, okay, get this thing away from me.
Absolutely. But the reason that I have that alarm on my phone, Chelsea, is because there's so much going on in my brain. I cannot forget.
I know. Hey, I'm not judging you.
I'm not
totally
taking
with
it that
you.
way.
Absolutely.
No?
I know, but
and
it's
you
want to
know what the reminder was? Did you see?
No.
It was book your yoga class, which I'm not going to do
Okay,
because
there
I
you
can't make time for myself right now.
But, oh, no.
No, don't
That's
take
my
my
fault.
advice
That's my
today.
fault for bringing you over here. Okay.
No.
Okay, so that leads us into what you can do. What you should be doing right now is attending your yoga class.
Yes.
But, okay, today you're not doing it. What can we do about this type of fatigue?
For me personally, it's like full removal, silence, walking in the forest, not thinking, and doing tasks that are like beginning, middle, end tasks, menial, not requiring a lot of thinking, and shutting off the decision making, like the thousands of decisions that I need to make in a day, stopping doing that. That is what works for me. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, as cliche as it sounds, it's important to practice mindfulness and peaceful activities, whatever that is for you when you're feeling that mental fatigue. Absolutely. And alone time always comes to mind for me because at this point in my life, I'm rarely alone, which is awesome. I'm grateful for that. But you had brought up when we had a conversation that some people don't like to be alone. And I think your point about having a great conversation with someone, people who are not your students or your colleagues, a friend, that can be really helpful for decompressing and
like processing it, external to yourself, getting it out. Another thing I was thinking about while you were talking was giving yourself permission to not be an expert all the time at everything. You don't always have to know everything. You can, get the Coles Notes version, talk to someone else about it who is an expert, ask the specific questions rather than getting all of the information. And I'm finding because everything is so accessible, I'm then feeling like I have to access it. I don't. That's a pressure I'm putting onto myself. And I'm also putting it on myself because there's pressure exterior to me, I feel. But I can say no.
Yeah. And we know that when we're talking with students and they're asking us questions and we don't know the answer, it's honestly better sometimes to just admit that you don't know the answer, but you will find that for them or you can work together to find it. So you're right. Give yourself a break. When you're engaged in deliberate thinking all day, which we really are as teachers, it's just really important to step away from that type of thinking.
Let's get into the next type of fatigue, and that is emotional fatigue, emotional drain. We are constantly managing students' behavior issues, dealing with student and parent expectations, and let's be honest, everyone expects something different from us. The ideal teacher for every student is a different type of human in a lot of ways, as long as you have respect and kindness. And addressing academic challenges can really lead to emotional exhaustion. I feel very on all the time in dealing with the emotions of the classroom, the personal emotions I'm having in dealing with what's going on, and the emotional energy between the students, which can be a lot. We're dealing with a lot of human beings with many different backgrounds, many different viewpoints. It is complex and it is dynamic.
And many different people who are experiencing so many issues and challenges in a single day, in a single morning. So for me, I find that what drains me the most emotionally is helping them to practice self-regulation. And I feel like this is at any age, right? You've got your teens who have their own difficulties in life as compared to the primary kids, right? It's a different kind of regulation, but it is apparent in every grade, every single day. And I kind of think like, especially now after a pandemic, I don't know, just with everything going on. So it's kind of a big deal.
Right. And again, we have our own emotions. I feel frustration. I have to keep that in check so that I can bring out the best in everyone else, and almost keeping your own needs, shoved down all day long, which is a lot of what we do all day long. Is we kind of put our needs away to deal with everyone else's. We have to maintain this level of high professionalism, as we should. Yeah. It is exhausting.
That in itself is emotionally draining.
Yeah, 100% it is.
So what are we doing to remedy that? Similar to what we do for mental fatigue, but I do have to throw in, you know me, I have to throw in that movement.
Yes,
is critical.
I knew you were going to do that. Yeah, right when I skipped the yoga class, you're like, get moving. Oh, thank you.
You have to work out those emotions.
It's true. It is genuinely true. And I've said this before on the podcast. At the beginning of a walk, I feel horrible and I don't want to do it. My mood is low. I get back. If I do the compare and contrast, the difference is, it is amazing. So exercise makes a difference. I just thought of another one, and this one is a little bit off the beaten path. And I don't like to cry ever. I just don't like to cry. I do like to laugh. I do find that a really good comedy releases a lot of emotion. And every once in a while, when it's been a few months and I really need to just let out some stuff, I'll watch a really sad movie and I will allow myself a good cry. And those are two things alone. I do this alone that work for me. And of course, just like you had said, this is very similar to the first type of fatigue that we discussed. What was it again, Chelsea?
Mental.
Okay. Is finding someone that I trust and really getting out the way that I'm feeling, explaining it, going into some details, and just kind of doing a rant and getting it out. I find that really, it just resets me. I've been heard. Someone is understanding on the other end of things. Yeah, that is really useful to me. Okay.
I want to say two things related to what you were saying. Three things.
Oh, wow.
Venting is necessary. Okay.
100%.
Secondly, I like that you brought up the shows because that happens to me. And I'm just going to name the show. It's Grey's Anatomy. Every time I watch that show, I will bawl my eyes out. And you know what? I'll feel better after. Yeah. So it's probably me releasing my emotions for sure. But it feels good after. And it's an amazing show.
It is.
And finally, for anyone who really doesn't want to do that movement, you're too exhausted to do any movement. I did just read about this method in Burnout. I'm sorry. It's a great book.
Okay.
All teachers should read it.
Yeah.
If you have the time, you can lay down and you can just squeeze all of your muscles, kind of like one by one. And you can think about the things that have caused you emotional fatigue or even stress. This is also kind of a stress remedy too. So it might not work for your emotional fatigue, and then you think about it and you might find that you are releasing certain emotions. Like you might find that you are crying or that you are getting angry, but it is another way of processing those emotions and letting them out. So I don't know, it's worth a shot.
I think those are excellent
Especially
tips.
if you're too tired to exercise.
Well, and that is the problem. By the time the end of the week comes, all of the remedies, all the things that we can do to kind of counter the fatigue, we just don't have the energy to do. So it's kind of this catch-22, but try one thing, try something, see what works for you.
Yeah, we rarely want to add things to our
listeners' lists.
Yeah, exactly. Like, our own lists. Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
Okay, let's move to number 3, and that is social fatigue. Very real for teachers. This is caused by a lot of factors, especially just in one day. You've got constant interaction. You've got dealing with different personalities. You're handling conflicts. You have parent involvement. You've got professional expectations, a lack of personal time, right?
Yes.
That could be at work and at home because of work. So overall, the demands, the responsibilities of teaching can contribute to this social fatigue. What are we doing about this?
That's a really good question, because depending where you are in the season of your life, you might leave one very social, active space where there are many, many humans, you may go home to another space where you have a bunch of people who are 100% dependent on you, and you can't just go lock yourself in a room and call it a night. There's responsibilities there.
Thank you. I'm there right now, as you know.
I do.
There are times when I lock myself in my room.
That's okay. You have to be able to do that. But I'm just thinking, you're not just dealing with, your own personal social life and your family socially in the house. Your kids right now are at an age where they're now, branching out in their social lives, and you're driving them to places, and you're probably getting invites to go to different, events and that is beautiful, that we get to have community and spend time with other people. That can really feed our souls.
Yeah.
The pressure to do that, it's really hard to say thank you so much for the invite. I've already have plans this evening. And then to make your plans be sit in your living room and read a book, have a quiet walk, do something alone. Because I know for me, when I've gone and done some of those social things after a really long, tough week, I'm not my best self. And I like to be in a really good space when I'm getting to enjoy other people, so that I can be a part of their wellness and their happiness too. I can be a real drag when I'm in a bit of a mood, and I don't want to bring other people down. It's this weird thing. I'm hearing my mom's voice in my head right now, and she's saying, you should always go out, be social, spend that time with your friends. Because I tend to hunker down a little bit too much sometimes, but it really is finding that balance. That's I'm trying to think of a better word than important, Chelsea. So let's see. That's consequential to your life.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent work.
Thank you.
So yeah, I completely agree. It depends on what season you are in your life. For me, I have to, as a part of my rest practice, I do schedule alone time for myself. I have to right now. Other people don't require that, right? So it depends. It all depends.
What's really surprised me over the past 5 years is I have finally learned to ask for what I need, and just to talk to people and say, hey, I can still do this, but I need an extra 2 hours because I know that my day is jam-packed, let's say. How willing people are to support you when you ask for what you need. So try it. It's okay to kind of ask for what you need.
Yeah, I completely agree. Because when I do say to my family, I'm going in my room for an hour, I figured that they would be like, what? No. They're like, yeah, okay, see you later. We're going to do what we want. So it works out for everyone. Great. You just have to try it, really.
All right, let's add to this list. We're going to talk about sensory fatigue. So along with social strain comes sensory surplus, a little alliteration. The stimulation in our surrounding environments can make us feel super anxious, irritable, and I know for me, super on edge.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, just think of the classroom. Sure, there are ways to kind of like tone down the surroundings, bring down the noise levels, but a huge part of learning is giving the students the opportunity to do group work, think, pair, shares, have grand conversations. And inevitably, when we're doing this, it becomes a cacophony of noise, of different voices and movement. And when we're doing that all day long, and plus we deal with hallways and we deal with phys ed rooms and we deal with all these different spaces, it can become a sensory overload, dare I say nightmare?
Most people don't like it.
I mean,
most teachers don't like it.
I mean, I love it when the students are engaged on task and having rich conversations.
Yeah.
And I find even when they're in a controlled noise level, like a unicorn class, that my ears ring after. So I love it, and I don't like what it does to my nervous system after. And I find that I do look out at my class when they're doing this, and I feel warm. I feel warm towards them. Like, wow, you're on task. You're doing such a great job.
And you feel proud of yourself for
for
facilitating that.
I do. And I feel even better when they understand what's going on, are fully engaged and working independently and whispering to a seat partner. That is when the class is the most peaceful. But in our classrooms today, I would suggest that is probably the rarest moment of, activity that happens in a space.
Yeah, it's tough to find a balance with that. And I think we've mentioned this before on the podcast, that you really have to be mentally prepared before you start some kind of collaboration or something that has a lot of sensory overload. So you have to kind of check yourself on that day and decide, can you do this today? Right. Yeah, there are days where you can handle it better than others. But no matter what, you still kind of walk out of that feeling like, yeah, like your ears are ringing, or maybe you have a headache, or you're just like, hey, I just need some peace. Yeah.
Well, and here's the key. You cannot leave the space. That's the key. So if you start to develop a headache or a migraine, you can't just remove yourself. You're responsible for that space. So it's a complex piece, and I think it's under, discussed. I really do. That's a real challenge in teaching. And I have found, I hope I'm not saying too much, but the older I have gotten, the more difficult it has been. It's hard to focus when there's a whole bunch of noise going on in the background. That's a challenge.
It is a challenge. And you almost have to really think about, how much time am I going to give the students to work here? Like what suits you? You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm going to do 20 minutes of this today, and then we are going to quiet work if you can do that. So it's tough, but
you got to build that quiet time in. Another piece of that is there's other students in the room who are also feeling that sensory overload, and it is impacting them most likely more than you. And so you're trying to keep everyone happy. And although a lot of the best practice is this conversational piece, there are students who really are like, stop talking, let's get to work, because they're not handling the noise very well. And that's productive noise. I'm not talking about wild noise when things get a little unruly by Friday. Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. That one's a tough one. So what do we do then to kind of counter the sensory overload? I've got a few things that I like to do. I feel repetitive because I feel like a walk fixes everything. I do the walking. Sometimes I choose not to listen to music while I walk, and I let myself get, kind of, it's the nature sounds that will reset me. I live in a space where I can get out more into a forested area, which is really helpful for me. I try to remove myself from noise.
That's the main thing. Remove yourself from noise.
It is.
Find peace.
Find peace.
Find peace.
And visually look at something that is peaceful too, if you can. Something clutter-free, something that...
a picture of nature. Water is known to be calming, right? So even a picture of water, put it on your screen at home. That works too.
Go to calm.com, put on something. We're not sponsored, just for the record. Put something on that's peaceful. Listen to something if you want to, classical music or softer music. You want nothing, I can tell.
Those YouTube cafes.
Yes.
I love them. Little rainy days, little fall days. They are delightful.
You know what else is good for sensory overload, Chelsea? Is a really nice shower or a nice bath. It kind of just gets your blood flowing, your hands and feet if they're a little cold. It relaxes you. That hot mug of coffee, hot chocolate, or tea, that warm water coursing through your body, it can help to relax you. I find that to be incredibly useful.
I kind of feel like just listening to you talk about all of this stuff with your calm voice right now, I'm getting more relaxed. So, hey, listen to something that's meditative.
Okay, well,
that's meditative.
That's right. But that is another really good example, is in surrounding yourself by people who have a calmer demeanor in those moments. So basically, you're not allowed to go home to your family. I meant that to everybody, not to you specifically, Chelsea. None of us should be going home to family.
They're depending on you.
Exactly.
Just wait 5 minutes and
then
go.
Everyone else's needs competing with your own. It's tough. I think teaching is a very, very tough career, and been in it long enough to see that it's become tougher. And I'm glad we're articulating the different types of fatigue. And I'm glad we're articulating a whole bunch of other things that we're seeing in the spaces that we're in. And I'm hoping that maybe this helps somebody to name it so they can change it. Exactly. And this is a 3-part series. I know you're aware of that.
Mm-hmm. I am.
You are.
Because we really need to get into the why and to the how of doing this, because it is just so important for us to just, like I said, put rest into our lives, like all throughout. It'll help you maintain. So let's get into the last type of fatigue here, and that is physical fatigue. And the reason that we put this last is because all of those other types of tired can manifest themselves into our physical being, and we can feel it physically, right?
Absolutely. They are all connected. So how does it manifest itself, Chels?
So they're going to make us feel sleepy. We can have low energy. We can feel lethargic. We can have aches or soreness in our muscles. And we can even become like clumsy. And like you said, making mistakes, right? With our bodies.
Yeah.
Not just our minds.
Yeah. All of those different types of fatigue that we started off with can contribute to the physical fatigue. Interesting.
So what are we doing about physical fatigue?
So I think the biggest focus would be just a little bit of inactivity, some gentle stretching or some yoga, but not tonight. Maybe getting a massage, taking a bath, relaxing with a book or a podcast, probably Eduwell. And of course, sleeping. And you can listen to our episode about morning routine and sleep hygiene. Those are two really good episodes with some really tangible tips. I think the biggest piece here for me as a person who is in a society that really values productivity and go, and saying things like, I'm so stressed out, and I fall into that loop all the time.
Yep.
It's giving yourself permission to choose doing nothing.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, like just do nothing and remove pressure. And doing nothing is actually doing something because you are doing rest. You're recharging your battery. You are just being present. Maybe you're giving your kids the gift of boredom so they can innovate.
You must.
It's the best thing to do ever.
It's the best thing to do ever.
It's really life-changing.
No, you're so right. I just want to say that when I sit down to do nothing, I have to engage in self-talk. And I have to say, Chelsea, it is okay for you to do nothing. I know those dishes are on the counter. I know the sun is shining and you'd like to be walking, but you're tired. And it's okay to just chill out here.
Just be.
Yep.
You know what it is for me? It's the arugula. It's the arugula. It's the arugula. I have to go get the arugula. And so I have to say, do you really need to go get the arugula? Do you really need to say yes to this, that, and everything else? And a lot of the pressures that I'm putting on myself, they're redundant. I don't even know where they're coming from. But it's like this drive to do things. And it's also pressure from people who I am around who also have the same drive. And it makes me feel like, well, you know, why shouldn't I, or why can't I, or why am I not? And so I need to just be the voice of reason for myself. And I like that self-talk, Chelsea. Like, that's exactly what I need to do. I have to say out loud, chill out. Like, just hang out for a while. You can do this another day. You're going to be on the other side of town next week. Do it then, you know, and just removing pressure.
Yeah. You just go back to that basket. Your basket is always going to have something in it. Mm-hmm. You can get that arugula tomorrow morning. We have 24-hour grocery stores here. So you are good.
Will it be 50% though when I go back the next day? I don't. Okay, that's just me.
Okay.
So all of this chitter chatter, by the way, which I want you to know has fed my soul today. I had a pretty rough week and I feel calmer having had this conversation.
That's good because I didn't want you to feel like you had to be super productive today, right? Because you had a day at work. And so we don't want to put pressure on anyone that they must be productive all the time. Yes, we talk about productivity and we talk about how to get things done and put this into your life and take that out of your life. But we don't ever want you to feel like we're putting any productivity pressure on you. So I'm glad you don't feel like that, Alex.
I really appreciate that you said that. And one of the things I can say to listeners right now is that, Chelsea, you did say to me, you took the pressure off in the text, which I really appreciated. When I said to you, okay, do you still want to do this? You responded to me and gave me an out if I wanted to. So you gave me grace in that moment. But I like that you did that for me, and I will continue in life to try to do that for you, because sometimes we need to know that people that we care about, you know, we're not always their number one priority, of course, and what we want to do may not be what someone else wants to do. So giving that grace in friendship, especially amongst teachers, is really the right thing to do, because we're torn in a million directions. It makes me think of a quote, because I think we're going to wrap this baby up right now.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's hear your quote.
All right. A moment of self-compassion can change your entire day. A string of such moments can change the course of your life. And that quote is by Christopher K. Germer or Germer, not sure, but that's the quote that's going to end this podcast. So Chelsea, let's do the takeaways.
All right, for the takeaways today, we're just going to review the 5 types of tired that we have targeted so that we can be aware of them. And then in the next couple of episodes, we are going into why we need rest in our life a little bit more and how to actually get it in there, how to infuse those moments of self-compassion throughout your time at work and throughout your time at home. First type of tired is mental fatigue.
All right, the second one is emotional fatigue.
Number 3, social fatigue.
Number 4, sensory fatigue.
Number 5, physical fatigue.
Phew. Okay, that was a busy week, and I did experience all 5 of the types of fatigue. I am feeling a little refreshed. I have a weekend to look forward to here. It's starting as soon as we shut this down. I'm going to relax, and I'm going to apply some of these things that we just talked about.
Good for you. I'm going to ask you about that next time I see you.
Perfect. Okay, so
We'll
build. I'm looking forward to that. We do not want to add anything to your list because we know the 5 different types of fatigue that you are likely experiencing around this time of year. But if you're enjoying this podcast, we would love for you to leave a review wherever you are listening. Let us know what you like about the show or other things that you want to hear about in the future. And hopefully in the future, you are getting more rest. So until next time, be well
and do well.